Hey there, and welcome to the Home Studio Rescue here on YouTube. My name is Chris, and today I'm going to be talking about my mix of the old Bus Stop, the song by my band, Lovesick Loner Car. Now, the tracks are available for download down in the description. There also is going to be a pinned comment down below. You can get them there. If you would like, you could send the mix to homestudiorescue@gmail.com. That's me, and I'll give you some mix feedback. So let's get into it. All right, and so the first place we're going to start is with the drums, so let's take a listen to those. Here's without parallel compression. No snare trigger. No kick trigger. And so that's going to be the first place I'm going to start talking about how I treat the drums. So my main goal when I'm recording drums is to get the sound as close to what I want it to be in the end as possible when I start. But all that being said, it's about the actual drums, the sound of the instrument, the drummer, and then the room. And we're recording in my bass player's basement, so it's not a treated studio or anything like that. But we do come up with, I believe, some pretty good drum sounds. And so when I do get triggers involved or samples, they are there to be blended in. They are not meant to be the whole drum sound. So in the verses, I don't even have triggers involved on the snare drum. The kick definitely does, but the reverb, the snares are also being sent. The triggers are also being sent to the snare reverb. So it's just a bit too much too aggressive in the verses, but in the choruses, I automate them to come out. Here's with parallel compression, without parallel compression. And so I do something a little bit interesting. So I used to do a fatso compressor. So everything is sent via an aux. This is my D-Crush bus. This is going to the Fatso, and then I have another bus where I'm sending to a Zener limiter, which is a Chandler limited. This is that parallel compression bus. Here is just the distressor. So this one's more for punch, the distressor is, and then this adds the Zener adds some smack. And I send a different blend to the Zener limiter than I do the distressor. And so here they are with the full drum set. Here's the full mix. I'm going to take away the parallel compression. So the parallel compression, that's really kind of giving it the presence, and then I mean the triggers are doing some heavy lifting as well. And then let's listen to the actual raw drum tracks, and I'll talk a little bit about what I did there. This is without any plugins. We're gonna kill the triggers. So that's the real drum sound. That's with 2 kick mics, top and bottom snare. We had a rack tom with a AKG P170, which is my favorite tom mic, one of those on the low toms, and then a Loughton Audio tom mic. And then we had the Loughton Audio pencil condensers. I was trying those out, which they're very bright, and they're decent mics. And then I had 2 Fentone ribbons as room mics. I had 2 U47 Juniors as room mics, and then I had a mono overhead as well, and then I had a hi-hat mic. So yeah, I had a lot of mics on these drums. So this is them untreated, and so here's with some plugins on them. And I'm not really doing anything crazy. I have a API 2500. This is pretty much my drum setting here. It's only 50% mix, and then I got some EQ going on the drums. And one of the most important things that's happening overall in this mix is the mix bus also does a lot of heavy lifting. But this is without the triggers and without the parallel compression. There's your parallel compression, kick trigger, here come the snares, and the reverb. I don't really want to bore you with like the individual like kick drum EQ. I mean, I go in and I kind of listen and carve out. There you go. That's the boxy inside the kick drum. And I'm taking out 642 hertz, 1000 hertz. Trying to get rid of that basketball sound. There's your sub kick. Without the EQs and all that, I'm just getting rid of that kind of boxy sound. It's like in the mids, and that I'm doing that with all of the microphones, all of the close mics on the snare, and then I'm kind of just shaping things like these U47 juniors for the room mics. They are very bright and I mean, it sounds like a bedroom, right? So, and I'm also trying to send those to the distressor, and once I start sending that stuff out, if it sounds like, let's get to the chorus, if it's just cymbally, that's just gonna sound really bad when I compress it. So So that's kind of the drum overview. If you want these tracks, they are in the description. You can do a mix. Send me your mix. I'll give you my feedback on it. And on Friday, March 13th, it's the 6th today. So next Friday, we are going to be doing a live stream of mix feedback of your mixes. So if you want to hear my thoughts on your mix and see if you can beat this mix, if you think you can do better, download the tracks and give it your best shot. So parallel compression, samples, and then the drum bus. I'll say this. Let's go to, we'll just hear the whole song, and I'm going to show you what my mix bus is doing. Here's without it. So this isn't like, there's one thing in this mix bus that I pretty much do every time. It is the Slate virtual mix rack with, this is my chain right here. This was the first song I ever mixed for this project, and this has been on my mix bus ever since. So here's this. It's doing some EQ. It's going through the console here, which it's definitely, it's one of those things where it's subtle. For me, when I'm dialing this thing in, I turn up the drive, and then I go through the different console emulations. Here's a Neve API, and I think these are SSLs. That's a Triton. But I settled on this one. I think the part of the real magic, this is a mastering EQ here. And I mean, I'm doing very little moves. That's like 1.2 dB at 400. Here's that's 1 decibel bump at 60. And then at 12K, I'm putting almost 3 decibels. But I feel like this kind of takes the blanket off of it. Now, there might be adding a little bit of gain as well. And then I have a tape emulation plugin, the Ampex 102. It just kind of gives it that tape feel. It does something, and I like it. And then I have a Manley Veramu on the mix bus. It's barely touching the gain reduction. And now I normally don't do this, but then I have another tape plug-in on. And that's definitely adding some mojo. And then for the rest of the song, so for the bass, we did a Fentone 121 and then a Sennheiser 602 and a bass DI. And there's a lot of stuff going on here. I definitely made this bass dirty. A lot of it's coming from the Sans amp and Pro Tools. And then this, let's see right here. So this is the R bass, and then I have this stay level from Mixwave on it. Now the bass by itself, if I take off the plugins, it might sound better. Now if you're not wearing headphones, you might not hear this at all. So headphones or earbuds. But when I put this stuff on, even if you're not, you might be able to hear it through a laptop or your cell phone. Maybe. That's why I have so much distortion and I'm brightening it up. In context of the mix, it sounds good. So that's that. The keyboards, there are a bunch of keyboards. We will go to a section in the chorus where there is piano as well. And I'm not really doing much. I mean, I have a Juno. I have, this is the Arturia Mini Freak. That's keyboard I use live a lot. And then I'm using Junos and then piano. The only thing I'm kind of doing anything interesting mix-wise that isn't just the raw sound is this piano. I've got a Dimension D on it. I've got a RC20 with some reverb going, some distortion, the magnetic, and then some EQ. And then so I really love the RC20. This is a cool vibe plugin. It definitely can, if you just want to mess something up or give it a little space, it's a great plugin for that. Then I have the tape Mellowfi on it, which gives it some warble. I'm taking off some low end on it. The flutter and the wow on this is very cool. And then I have the MV2 going, which is just a compression plugin that brings things that are at a lower volume. It turns those up and takes the things that are at a higher volume and turns them down. The MV2 is one of my favorite plugins, even though I really don't like Waves as a company. I can't beat that plugin, and I can't beat our bass, so I still use it. So, and then this is Jordan, my lead guitar player, where we recorded all of his tracks in stereo with a 57 and the Fentone 121, and in reality, I didn't do much to these. They just sound good. I didn't have to do anything really. The only thing I've done with his guitars is in the chorus, I threw a Neve plugin on his riff coming in. You can see it right here. And that's just boosting some top end at 1.6 and a little of the high shelf and doing a little roll off. But those guitars were recorded so well, I just didn't have to do much. And that's awesome. That's the goal, right? And then I have my other lead guitar player, Gio. We recorded a lot of his stuff through my little Gremlin teal amp you can see right over there. And I definitely mix these guitars a lot. And it's mostly because I had us put way too much gain on stuff. So there's some crazy stuff going on in this song for Gio. I love this part. Some of it he recorded at his home studio. So I really love his bridge part here. So for a lot of his guitars, I'm cutting off 10K. You can see here, guitars need to be recorded bright to make it through a rock mix, but sometimes they got a little too heavy. But I'm really happy with the result. So we have 3 guitar players, myself included, and live I'm switching to keyboards, but this is my guitars. And they're kind of just a layer, but I'm just kind of, they were pretty warm, and so I had to brighten them up. I had to cut off some low end. I had to boost some mids. There you go. There's that 1.6 type thing. And then I'm boosting the mids, 3K. It's just, none of this is stuff where it's like, hey man, like telling you on the internet that you should mix your guitars like I'm mixing my guitars. I'm not telling anybody to do what I do. I believe that for each song, everything, each recording is different. If I tell you an EQ point for my drums, I mean, yeah, drums are one thing. Like 500 hertz, that's where it's boxy. You know, there's certain things that ring true for most drum recordings I've heard. But for the most part, though, what I do for my mix isn't going to work for your mix. So at any rate, here are the vocals. This is kind of the fun part. Back at the old bus stop. So here are just my lead vocals, which I still see you there. That's a reverb I added, but this is my UAD vocal chain. Bus stop. That's the reverb off of my vocal chain, the AKG BX20 or whatever. And I record with an 1176 and a Fairchild already on I have a vocal chain, and it is the same every time. And that's why there's like a de-esser and the MV2 just to kind of level things out a little bit. And then another reverb chain. But so the other thing I do for my vocals, and on this song especially, I love it, is my amp recording, my vocals that I recorded through my amp, which what I did with this right here. This is a microphone cable into my pedal board with an SM57. I just use my pedals, and that's my amp vocal chain that you're going to hear right now. And so this is where I really do my effects. It's through my... So that's in the background of the verse. We were both so afraid. And then the chorus. No, back at the old bus stop, I still see you there. Back at the old. So my point with my vocals is that for the most part, they are already, like, everything's baked in. The compression, the EQ, sometimes there's a pull tech on my vocals, so the compression's already baked in. And that's the main point with all of this, is I'm trying to get the song to sound as good as possible before I start mixing. And a lot of the times that comes down to having a good sounding drum set, having your phase correct, your gain staging, and then bass tone, guitar tone, and vocals. It's just delivery and all that. I don't use auto tune. There's been a couple of songs where I've melodined some things in the past, but that was like 2 years ago. I'm not a big fan of that. And so that's the overview of these tracks, kind of what I did. If you have any questions or anything, you can email me at homestudiorescue@gmail.com. You can get the tracks down below. There's a link in the description, and it's the first pinned comment. Download that if you want to. Have some fun mixing it. Send me a mix. I'll tell you what I think. Next Friday, March 13th, I'm going to do a live stream, 8 p.m. I'm going to go over all the mixes. And then there's going to be new multi-tracks for our newest single, I Don't Want to Know, which comes out next Friday. So thank you so much for watching. If you got any value out of this, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.